All right, guys, let's try this again. Anyway, I tried to start the video and I had to take care of something that popped up. But excuse me. Wow, way to start a video. So here we are, Monday. It is February 25th, and we're almost done with February, almost into March. So the year's moving along. Hope you guys had a good weekend in regards to life in general, but also to reselling. I hope you guys were able to, maybe you're relaxing, but hey, Terry, find some stuff. So just wanted to talk, excuse me, a little bit about cherry picking books versus bulk for solo Amazon resellers. So basically, this is something that someone asked about or commented about in one of the last videos I made, and it's something I talk about here and there, but just want to talk about a little bit today. This isn't going to be a super long video because I'm going to have to maybe like a 20-minute or so video, so I'll kind of get to the point. But most people that start when they resell books, they do cherry picking, which is what I started, how I started doing it when I started back in 2014 was going to thrift stores in the beginning, and then as I progressed from that, I found out about I could go to garage sales, estate sales, and then I found out about library book sales, and so I started doing all of those different things, and that was able to provide me with enough books so that I could send in hundreds and then thousands of books and build up an inventory and get consistent sales. But after a while, I stumbled across videos on YouTube and whatnot talking about bulk books and seeing these warehouses where they had dozens or more of gaylords of books and going through them with a conveyor belt and dumping them out on the conveyor belt and all that stuff. And then when you see that, you wonder, what that's all about, how hard it is to get into that, and if it's worth it, and that type of thing. So so I wanted to talk just a little bit about it. Sort of, it makes sense that most people start cherry picking because that's the has the least barrier of entry. So it's pretty inexpensive. There's books pretty much everywhere, assuming that you have, you live in an area where there's enough thrift stores and garage sales and that type of stuff, and maybe a few libraries that put on some sales, or maybe have a little store inside that they sell books for cheap. So it's pretty easy to get access to a lot of inexpensive used books to then turn around and sell on Amazon for a profit, and often a really healthy profit. So that's how you kind of get your beak wet and how you start out. Usually, there's only a small percentage of people that actually jump into bulk that I have heard about. Most people don't even know about bulk and that that's a thing, and that you can buy these massive boxes of books, and that there's this river of used books just flowing through every major city and even smaller cities, but especially major areas, populated areas. There's just a lot of used books being donated, recycled, thrown away, and a lot of them end up in those. Well, a lot of them end up thrown away or recycled, but a huge portion of them end up in gaylords and are sold off to people. So, like us, to resell. But there's advantages and disadvantages to both. I think that cherry picking is great for some people, and bulk is great for some, and maybe both of them will work for some people as well. So I don't think that I don't think that either one is better, but they're different. And if you can do a little bit of both, maybe that'll work out for you. I think it depends on how big you want to go with bulk, really, and whether or not you want to just do it yourself, or if you want to have people working for you, or part-time working for you, whatever it is, whether it's leasing a warehouse space, or whether it's a storage unit, or even out of I couldn't imagine doing this out of your garage, but whatever space you're working out of. So basically, when it comes to cherry picking, I mean, it's pretty simple, straightforward. What are some of the advantages? One of the big advantages is you don't have to take the thrift store with you. So you can go to the thrift store and you can only buy what you're going to sell, right? What you're going to resell. So you walk in and let's say there's several thousand books on the shelves in a thrift store. The prices are great. Let's say they're $1 or less for a book, and you're able to find 50 books or 40 books or whatever. So let's say you find 50 books out of several thousand or 1,000 or 1,500, and you pay for them, you take them home, and then you list them and ship them out, or hold on to them until you get more to ship them out. But you leave behind all those thousand or hundreds of other books that you don't have to deal with. So you have to, so the thrift store, they have to deal with that. They have to sell those, get rid of them, recycle them, donate them. Well, not donate them, but get rid of them. So you don't have to worry about that. So that's the other thing. You only buy what you want, and then therefore you don't have to deal with the duds, the Amazon duds, the books that individually don't make sense to sell on Amazon. And you can walk away from those. So that's a big advantage. And when you first start out, like when I first started, I didn't even know that was an advantage. I mean, I didn't know that was what I was doing, but essentially that's what I was doing, was leaving all those other books behind. There's no point in me wanting to have them or buy them. So you just leave them with the thrift store. The other thing is there's no storage needed for all the books that you would get for bulk. So when you're cherry picking, the thrift stores, the library sales, they're the ones storing all the books and handling and managing the books. And all you do is just walk in, scan, pay your money, and walk out. So it's a pretty clean, easy process, which is why a lot of people like to do cherry picking, and why they like that type of sourcing, because they just get what they want, and then they go home and they list and ship it out and move on to the next thrift store, whatever it may be, the next sale. And that's why I really liked it. Yeah, it does happen. And then it's true. It's true. And I've seen that with myself too, but when it comes to books, bulk books. Terry says when people get into bulk, then they start, because they're not finding enough profitable, higher profit books, then they take smaller profits and maybe are, dropping the price once they get it listed, just to flip it quickly. So another thing, good thing about, I think is not something that I did, but I feel is, hold on. Sorry, guys. Another good thing I think is that not something I did, but you can build relationships or network for more books, basically. And what that means is for thrift stores, if you get to know the owners, the managers, you you can maybe get access to the books in the back that never see the floor or that are going to get discarded or discarded whatever way, recycled, that type of thing, thrown out. So you might be able to build relationships with them, get access to those books at library book sales. You might get to know some of the volunteers or people that run it, and then they might, if you have a card or just give them your number, whatever, they might contact you to say, hey, you want to come look at the books before we even start the sale, or here's everything that's left, or here's things we weren't able to put out. It's all about those relationships you can build. And of course, when it comes to, well, garage sales, estate sales, garage sales, not so much, but you never know. You can always meet people at garage sales that are putting them on. They maybe have more books, access to more books, know somebody that has more books. You say, I always looking for books. Here's my card, whatever. Maybe they'll contact you, maybe they won't. Also, estate sales, the companies that put on estate sales will often, books will often be the biggest pain in the butts next to maybe records, CDs, other types of media, that there's a lot of it and it's hard to sell all that stuff off, so they end up having to get rid of it anyway. So maybe you could offer like a clean out book service where You say, if you have books left over, if you don't even want to deal with the books, I'll come and pick them all up for you. Often you can get them for free or really inexpensive. Here's 500 books for next to nothing. Whatever it is. But you can build those relationships if you're the kind of person that doesn't mind talking. I've never done this, but it's something that I want to start to do. But I recommend that if you're open to that and comfortable with it. That's a great thing for cherry picking. Excuse me. That you can maybe build up, a clientele or a Rolodex or whatever you want to call it of people who know about you and in the community, and you're the book person, and they won't go to you for extra books that they don't need or want, for you to pick them up and that type of thing. Maybe you'll have some duds in there and you can turn around and recycle or donate those, but chances are you're still going to find some great stuff. So those are some of the, I'm sure there's other positives that I'm not thinking of for cherry picking, but those are some of the ones that came to mind for me. Some of the potential disadvantages or negatives are that there's more driving involved, depending on where you live. I don't have to drive that far. Like within a 10-mile radius, I can hit a lot of thrift stores. I don't have to go 50 miles or whatever. But for some people, you do. Maybe there's a lot of thrift stores in your area, but maybe they're mostly Goodwills or Salvation Armies or ones that are already reselling online, and selling on Amazon and taking a lot of the good stuff. So maybe it's harder. Yeah, there you go, Terry. I know Terry drives a lot. I knew he was this was gonna hit home with him. It was gonna resonate with him. So I get it. That's why I mentioned it. Everyone's circumstances are different. There's also potentially higher cost of goods, so higher cost per book. In general, there's going to be a higher cost per book compared to bulk. So a little bit higher. It also depends on where you live and how much things are costing. Some thrift stores I've been to, you can get a paperback for 50 cents, hardcover for $1. Others, paperbacks are $3. So it depends. Another potential disadvantage, and this isn't necessarily always true, but is there's potentially less. Is that there's potentially less. Sorry, guys. Less books that you'll find. It's not a guarantee, but sorry, guys, getting distracted. So potentially less books. What I mean with cherry picking is that, like I said, it all depends on your circumstances. Maybe you have 10 thrift stores close by within 20-mile radius, and a lot of them are really good, and so you have access to thousands and thousands of books, and you can kind of rotate through that, week in and week out, and within a month you can find 1,000 books or whatever, 800 books, 500 books, whatever it is, a good amount. And you have plenty, but sometimes people have to drive really far, like Terry was saying, or there's just not enough around where they live, so it's harder to find enough books. It's not that they're not willing to put in the work, put in the scanning hours, go through thousands of books to find the good stuff. It's just that there's not enough books out there. That's a potential problem or issue for cherry picking, depending on where you live, and not just where you live, but what the types of thrift stores and estate sales and stuff like that there are. Okay, like I said, this is going to be a short video, guys. It's 13 minutes in, probably less than 20 minutes, but let me get to what I'm talking about for bulk. The family's home, so it's getting a little loud and rowdy. Bulk, some of the positives are basically the books come to you, of course, right? So it's kind of like the thrift store is brought to you. In one Gaylord of books, you can get 800 to 1,000 books, totally depends. But even 800 books is an absurd amount of books. So you get all of those books at once, just dumped right in front of you. What? And whoops. Sorry guys, getting distracted. So it's really convenient, right? So you order your books and they come to you. I mean, depends on the setup you have. Some people, like myself, I get them the CDs and books, whatnot, Gaylords delivered to me. I have to pay a fee for that, but you get them delivered to you, or you can pick them up, of course. But regardless, my point is you get a lot of books all at once piled together in a Gaylord or multiple Gaylord boxes, and to whatever you're storing them in your garage, in your storage unit, in the warehouse. Um, so so that's a great benefit. And also there are cheaper per book. So I've heard anywhere from $40. Okay, some people pay per pound, some people pay per Gaylord. So I've heard $40 per Gaylord. I'd pay 65. I've heard for people pay more than that. But if there's 800 to 1,000 books and you're even paying, $70 or whatever, it's going to be, when I pay $65, it's going to be cheap. So paying $65 for 800 to 1,000 books, I mean, I'm paying probably 10 cents or less per book, depending on each Gaylord. Some have more books than others. Some are packed with bigger books, or some are packed with more trash. So it depends, but I would say at least around 10 cents or less per book. So it's definitely cheaper per book, um, which is a big, advantage. But also that's kind of, it depends also, because some sources don't want you to only buy one or two or three Gaylords. They want you to buy 10 at a time, 20 at a time, that type of thing. And then you have to put out a lot more money to obtain all those books. So again, it depends on your situation. But in general, they're going to be cheaper per book, whether you buy one Gaylord at a time, or 10 Gaylords at a time, or a whole truckload. They're going to be definitely cheaper. Another potential benefit is that you get so many extra good books that are quality books that are not worth, or don't have enough profit to sell individually on Amazon or eBay. Not even talking about eBay, or eBay. But they're still great books. A lot of great fiction books, some nonfiction books, kids books, and you can use those books in different ways to sort of get more books. What I mean by that is you can use that as sort of like currency. So use it to donate, right, to different organizations maybe. This is what I was talking about with cherry picking, where you can build relationships. This is a way you can do it with bulk books, where you can go maybe to different organizations, nonprofits, whatever, donate some books. Maybe they have a little library there for kids. You can donate to your kids' schools, a lot of different places. Give them to little free libraries, whatever. But by doing that and getting to know people and talking to people, you get your name out there as the book person again. So it's a different way to go about it, but kind of using all those extra books as like currency. Uh, Terry says, but what is the average cost per book if you only count the ones you keep and list? Um, that's good. It depends on what it is, on how many books you find. So I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how many. I think between the two, so 42, um, 33. Yeah. Oh no, that's not it. 42 and I can't remember how many I got for the other one. But I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to figure out how many books I got out of the other two Gaylords. I know one of the Gaylords I got 42. Um, yeah, 42 books for FBA and Merchant Fulfilled out of one Gaylord. So ugh, that's a little over $1 a book. Um, I also got books though for eBay, so it's tough to say. But if you count it like that, then the cogs are going to be a little more expensive, clearly. But again, that all comes down to, are you trying to make money off of the books in some other way, whether it's beyond FBA with Merchant Fulfilled, or with eBay, um, or doing eBay lots, or trying to maybe go to used bookstores in your area and get cash, and or if you can't get cash, get store credit and then turn around and use that store credit to hopefully get more books to flip from those places. There's some, apps and whatnot. So what I'm saying is it depends, Terry. I mean, it depends on if you're only counting the Amazon books, so the 42 that I got, $65 spent on the Gaylord, that's over $1, right? For per book, but it's still not too bad. And that doesn't even include the books I'm going to list on eBay and sell those over time. There was 15 books I found. Bookscatter is 15 books that I found for eBay out of that one Gaylord. The other Gaylord I found some as well. I think I found over 25 books or so. I can't remember exactly for Amazon or that other one. The other one was not nearly as good as the first one. So it's going to vary from Gaylord to Gaylord, but it's really how good you are at pulling money out of the books that you can't sell on Amazon to make more money. So again, I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying they're different. So yeah, the cost of goods definitely goes up if you only consider the books that you pull out and can sell on Amazon. But it's still not too bad for me, those 42 books that I pulled out for $65 spent. I'd like to spend less than that, but I went to a thrift store this last week where the books I was paying $1 to $2 for some books because I can make some nice profit off of them. So depends. So of course, some of the negatives to duds. I'm going to end the video in a couple minutes, guys. So I'm going to go through this pretty quick. Some of the things I thought of for negative challenges, negatives, disadvantages for selling bulk are all the duds you have to deal with. I talked about how you can try to make money off of them. Right. So you've got to deal with the duds. So you have to deal with them. Where do you put them once you go through? Like, do you throw them in another Gaylord? Do you throw them in boxes so you can donate them? You have to have a way to deal with the duds. Whether you're going to try to make money off of some of them on eBay or on book buyback sites or websites or apps, or take them to used bookstores or donate them, you have to have a system to deal with that, which is what I found out after doing this a couple times several years ago with the books, is it becomes really difficult if you don't have a way to deal with it. That is so important. Is you need to create like a workflow, not only to be efficient, but consider processing time and storage. Not only to be efficient and process them quicker, but just to get through them. So be efficient, and also just a way to get rid of those duds. Because if you're not going to get them recycled, have somebody pick them up. If you're not going to have somebody pick them up, then you are going to have to physically get rid of them, and that sucks, to be blunt. So it's a lot of work. Yeah. Hold on. ¿Qué? ¿Qué? Ahorita acabo, okay? Hold on. So you also need space, like who was that? Brenda said you need the space and potential equipment. At a bare minimum, you're gonna need a pallet jack, which is not expensive. I found one for 40 or 60 bucks used, and it works fine and it's great. You can probably find one yourself. You don't have to buy a $200 new one. I was gonna buy a brand new one, but I looked it up on one of the apps, and one of the local apps, and I found it. But anyway, there was a lot of them for sale. So space, right? You need either a big garage, or you need a storage unit or a warehouse. Of course, the warehouse is that involves a lease and everything. So that's the last step. I would only get a warehouse if you have already built up a sizable income and you can afford it. Yeah, for sure. That's why bulk is not for a lot of people, because there's more labor involved with the duds, and you need space and at a bare minimum pallet jack. And then if you're going to get crazy with it, and you're going to go through a lot, if you want to ramp it up and only sell the books only sell the Amazon books, so merchant fulfilled and FBA, and not do any eBay or anything else, and you just want to recycle the rest, you're going to have to go through a lot of Gaylords. So you're going to probably need, you don't need it, but you might consider a Gaylord dumper, which is expensive, right? several $1,000s, or a big, big table to dump it on, um, or conveyor belt. I mean, that all can be I'm not doing any of that, but you don't need it. You can dive in there and you can grab books. I can get through a Gaylord of books in maybe like 2 or 3 hours, by being really brutal about what I'm throwing away and just being real quick about it, by myself. But if I had someone else, I could probably do it through like an hour or so. Excuse me. So there's a lot of physical work involved. And if you're not physically up to that, or you're not interested in that, or you're not willing to hire and train somebody else to do it, then don't do bulk, period. If you're not willing or interested in getting extra space to store it all in, and even just a pallet jack, don't bother. It's really not worth it unless you're just going to unless you can get access to a Gaylord at a time, a couple Gaylords, put them in a rental truck, or if you have a big truck, I don't know, you'd have to have like a U-Haul truck, but or you have access to one, and you're going to deal with all those extra books on your own. But it's so much work; it's not worth it. So those are some of the negatives and the challenges. And like Terry said, his goal is to avoid as much labor as possible, and I can agree to that. So anyway, so I gotta go, guys. I gotta go help the family. Gotta cook and get the night going. So I appreciate you guys watching. I know this was a bit of a rushed video. If you have questions or comments below, I can do another video and go into more. We can go into more about it and answer some questions and whatnot. But I will say this: if you're not really interested in getting storage space, doing a lot more physical work, and dealing with all the duds, don't do bulk. Don't even think about it. It might look sexy, or like, oh my God, there's so many books, I'll make so much money, but it's a lot of work, and you got to plan it all out. You got to have a plan. I would stick to cherry picking. If you want to grow bigger and you want to sell books, a lot more books on Amazon, on eBay, FBA Merchant Field, eBay, and maybe even open, get a warehouse space and throw up some shelves, or even you want to have a bookstore one day, then bulk is the way to go. If you want to go that route and you're all about growing big and being hands off and hiring people to help out, growing a staff, growing that business that way beyond yourself, then you should definitely look into bulk. Otherwise, just stick to cherry picking. And like I said, you can dabble in both also, but kind of have to decide for yourself. So please give me a thumbs up, guys, if you liked the video. If you didn't, don't even bother. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed.